As darkness settled over the dense forest, we huddled around the flickering campfire, our faces illuminated by its feeble glow. The crackling flames offered some solace against the encroaching night, but an unsettling feeling crept into my bones. We were 6 friends on a camping trip, seeking an adventure away from the noise of the city. Little did we know that this night would turn into a harrowing nightmare. I, Mike, was the nervous one in the group. The eerie silence of the woods and the shadows dancing around us made my heart race. I couldn't shake off the feeling that we were being watched, but the others brushed my fears aside as mere paranoia. As the night wore on, the fire slowly diminished and the surrounding darkness became suffocating. That's when we heard it, a distant howl that sent shivers down my spine. The sound seemed to come from all directions, echoing through the trees. It was a chilling chorus of unseen creatures that felt more supernatural than natural. Tension filled the air, replacing our initial excitement with a gnawing dread. We decided to retreat into our tents, seeking refuge from the foreboding atmosphere outside. Inside my tent, I clutched my flashlight, praying that the weak beam of light would ward off any lurking terrors. Time lost its meaning as I lay there, wide awake, listening to the rustling leaves and the occasional hushed whispers from my friends. The forest seemed to be alive with malevolence, as if it had been awakened by our presence. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night, jolting us from our uneasy slumber. It was Sarah, one of our group, and her cry was filled with sheer terror. We scrambled out of our tents, our hearts pounding in our chests. Sarah was nowhere to be found. Panic set in as we realized she had vanished without a trace. We called out her name, our voices trembling with fear, but the only reply was the haunting silence of the forest. Dread consumed us as we formed search parties, combing the surrounding area for any sign of Sarah. The moon cast an eerie glow through the thick canopy, casting elongated shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. Every snapping twig and rustling leaf amplified our paranoia. Hours passed and exhaustion weighed heavy upon us. We regrouped at the campsite, our spirits crushed by the increasing darkness that engulfed our hopes of finding Sarah. It was then that we noticed an unsettling pattern. The forest had become eerily quiet. The absence of wildlife was unnerving. No chirping of crickets, no hooting of owls, just an oppressive silence that clung to the air. We felt a presence, an otherworldly force that lurked in the shadows, watching our every move. A sudden gust of wind blew through the camp, extinguishing our last source of light, the campfire. Darkness swallowed us whole. Frantic, we fumbled for our flashlights, desperate to pierce through the black veil that had descended upon us. But what the light revealed sent us spiraling into a realm of true horror. Sarah's lifeless body was suspended from a tree branch, her eyes vacant and her expression frozen in terror. It was a sight that defied reason, a nightmare brought to life. In that moment, survival instinct took over. We ran blindly through the forest, branches whipping at our faces, our hearts pounding in our ears. We could feel the presence behind us, a malevolent force that followed our every step, its breath hot on our necks. One by one, my friends disappeared into the darkness, swallowed by the abyss. I was the last one left, my strength waning, and the forest seemed to grow darker, feeding off my fear. Finally, I collapsed, my body giving in to exhaustion and terror. As I lay there, gasping for breath, a chilling voice whispered in my ear, "You cannot escape. This forest claims all who enter." And then, darkness claimed me too. To this day, the forest stands as a warning, a place of unspeakable horrors, where the line between the living and the dead blurs. It's a testament to the fact that some nightmares are very real, and once you enter the realm of darkness, there is no way out. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the dense forest, we knew our camping trip was about to take a chilling turn. My friends and I, eager for an adventure, had set up our tents near the edge of the woods, unaware of the malevolent forces lurking in the darkness. As the night settled in, a bone-chilling wind whispered through the trees, sending shivers down my spine. We huddled around the campfire, its feeble light offering solace against the encroaching abyss. The crackling flames danced, casting eerie shadows that seemed to come alive in the dimly lit forest. My friend Sarah, a brave soul with an affinity for the supernatural, suggested we share ghost stories to heighten the thrill of our camping experience. We eagerly obliged, taking turns weaving tales of haunted places and vengeful spirits. Little did we know that these stories would soon become a grim reality. As the last story reached its haunting conclusion, we noticed a peculiar silence descending upon the forest. The nocturnal creatures ceased their calls, and an unsettling stillness enveloped the air. Unease settled in our hearts, but we brushed it off as mere imagination running wild. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night, shattering the silence. We jumped to our feet, our hearts pounding in our chests. Panic consumed us as we realized that one of our friends, Mark, was missing. Frantic, we called out his name, our pleas echoing into the void. But there was no response, only the haunting echo of our own fear. With flashlights in hand, we ventured into the darkness, cautiously navigating through the labyrinthine forest. The dense foliage seemed to close in around us, as if nature itself conspired to hold us captive. Each step we took felt like a leap into the unknown, our minds plagued with a sense of impending doom. As we pressed forward, our flashlights illuminated a ghastly sight. Mark's lifeless body hung from a tree, suspended by a rope around his neck. Horror washed over us like a tidal wave, leaving us paralyzed with fear and disbelief. The once familiar woods now felt like a sinister trap, and we knew we were being hunted. Whispers echoed through the trees, their eerie voices echoing with malicious intent. Shadows danced and twisted, manifesting in grotesque forms that taunted our senses. We tried to run, but the forest seemed to shift and change, leading us deeper into its twisted embrace. One by one, my friends fell victim to the vengeful spirits that prowled the night. Their terrified screams echoed through the forest, a symphony of despair that etched itself into my soul. I was left alone, my heart racing, consumed by a primal fear that threatened to consume me. As I stumbled through the undergrowth, my sanity teetering on the edge, I came across an ancient cabin hidden amongst the trees. Desperation compelled me to seek refuge within its decaying walls. But as I crossed the threshold, I realized that I had entered a realm far more sinister than the forest itself. The cabin was a twisted reflection of reality, its walls adorned with macabre paintings depicting scenes of unspeakable horror. The air was heavy with a malevolent presence, and I could feel the gaze of unseen eyes upon me. With every step, the creaking floorboards seemed to mock my feeble attempts to escape. In a last-ditch effort to survive, I discovered a journal hidden beneath a rotting floorboard. Its pages were filled with the desperate scribblings of previous victims, their accounts mirroring my own harrowing experience. They spoke of a cursed forest, a place where lost souls were condemned to suffer for eternity. Driven by a flicker of hope, I followed the journal's instructions to perform a ritual that promised escape from the torment. The room grew colder as I chanted the incantations, my voice trembling with equal parts fear and determination. And in a blinding flash of light, the cabin crumbled around me, leaving me standing in a clearing bathed in moonlight. I emerged from the forest battered and broken, my mind forever scarred by the horrors I had endured. The camping trip had turned into a nightmare beyond comprehension, leaving me a mere shell of my former self. The forest's cursed secrets had claimed my friends and nearly claimed me as well, a grim reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of our world. To this day, I caution those who dare to venture into the woods at night, for the spirits that dwell there hunger for the souls of the unwary. The innocent beauty of nature can conceal a malevolence beyond imagining, ready to ensnare those who dare to challenge its boundaries.
As the campfire crackled and cast dancing shadows across the trees, I couldn't shake off the unease settling in my bones. We had chosen the perfect spot for our camping adventure, a secluded clearing nestled deep within the ominous woods. Little did we know, the tranquility of the night would soon be shattered and our lives forever altered. With every passing hour, the darkness grew thicker, swallowing the surrounding forest whole. The distant hooting of an owl echoed through the silent night, sending chills down my spine. My friends Mark and Sarah seemed oblivious to the growing sense of dread that consumed me. They laughed and chatted, their voices a feeble attempt to drown out the encroaching darkness. As the fire dwindled, we decided to retire to our tents. The thin fabric offered little comfort against the eerie atmosphere that enveloped us. Inside my sleeping bag, I lay wide awake, my mind playing tricks on me. Shadows danced on the tent walls, morphing into twisted figures that seemed to leer at me with malevolence. Just as I began to drift into an uneasy sleep, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night. My heart pounded in my chest as I scrambled out of the tent, joining Mark and Sarah in a state of panic. Fear etched across their faces. We stood frozen, searching for the source of the terrifying sound. In the distance, an ethereal glow flickered in the darkness. It was a dim, pulsating light that seemed to beckon us forward, drawing us towards its mysterious allure. Against our better judgment, we followed the light, our footsteps heavy with trepidation. The glow led us to a dilapidated cabin, its windows shattered and its door hanging by a single hinge. The air grew still, suffocating in its silence. We exchanged wary glances, the unspoken agreement to investigate further etched in our eyes. As we stepped inside, the stench of decay choked the air. The floorboards creaked beneath our feet, as if whispering secrets from a forgotten past. The flickering light cast eerie shadows around the room, revealing the remnants of long-abandoned belongings. Tattered books, broken furniture, and a decaying portrait that stared at us with hollow eyes. A sudden gust of wind extinguished the light, plunging us into pitch darkness. Panic gripped us as we fumbled blindly, desperate to find an exit. But the cabin seemed to have transformed into a labyrinth, its walls shifting and twisting, trapping us within its sinister embrace. Whispers echoed through the darkness, growing louder with each passing second. The voices carried an otherworldly quality filled with anguish and despair. A cold breath brushed against my cheek and I recoiled, my skin crawling with revulsion. In the dim light of our flickering flashlights, we caught glimpses of grotesque figures lurking in the shadows. Their eyes gleamed with a malevolent hunger, their distorted forms contorted with malice. We were no longer alone. Something sinister had awakened within the depths of this cursed place. Fear gave way to survival instinct as we ran, our footsteps echoing through the night. But the forest seemed to conspire against us, its trees shifting and morphing into impenetrable barriers. Our screams were met with mocking laughter, the malevolent force toying with us like helpless prey. Just when all hope seemed lost, a burst of courage surged within me. I turned to face the approaching darkness, my voice trembling but resolute. "Leave us be!" I shouted into the void, my words laced with desperation and defiance. In that moment, the whispers ceased, and the evil that had ensnared us recoiled, retreating into the shadows. The forest grew still once more, as if holding its breath. The way out materialized before us, a path illuminated by a soft, guiding light. We stumbled out of the woods, our bodies battered and our souls forever scarred. The morning sun bathed the world in a gentle glow, erasing the horrors of the night. We vowed never to speak of that fateful camping trip again, but the memories would haunt us, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks just beyond the flickering flames of a campfire. And so, dear reader, heed my warning. Be cautious when venturing into the unknown, for the night holds secrets that may never be forgotten.